Amiens Cathedral gets the son et lumière treatment on summer's evenings, with bright colour projected onto its 13th century facade. The place regains its original appearance to the amazement of locals and visitors alike. This is Emmanuel Macron's city, both his birthplace and the cradle of his En Marche movement, which now seeks to restore the fortunes of France. After an extraordinary campaign in which an entirely new political colour scheme was deployed, President Macron must now deliver, and there are already voices in France who doubt his ability to do so. In particular, recent polls show Macron performing poorly in the pantheon of previous presidents.
L'IFOP mesure la cote de popularité de tous les présidents de la République.
We measure the approval rating of every French president since 1958, and it's, with one exception, the biggest fall in the summer of a first presidential term. The previous fall of that size was that of Chirac in 1995.
La précédente chute aussi importante avait été celle de Jacques Chirac.
For an example of how the mood has changed, look no further than the students. Delighted that the old game of Reds versus Gaullist Blue had been outplayed by a new centrist movement, they turned out for Macron. But cuts to their housing allowance are already causing grumbling.
Maintenant, on va dire que pour les étudiants, les élections sont passées.
For students, the elections are now over. Not everyone was interested in the first place, but those that were more or less happy with the result. But now they're interested in things that really impact them, like finding somewhere to live, finding a course that suits them, and the cuts to housing benefit, which will mean less money in their pockets.
Not all is what it seems with Macron's brilliant victory. Many voted against Le Pen rather than for him as president. And in the battle for parliamentary seats, much of France abstained. In one sense, it feels ludicrous to be looking for any real change in this society so conservative in defence of its social model just 3 months into this new presidency. But as one Amiennois said to me earlier today, we are an impatient people, and voices are beginning to be raised, questioning the new president and what he's up to, and those voices are even coming from within his own movement. A dissident group within the En Marche party has been established and already has its critique.
What I have against this government and the National Assembly is that they're confusing speed and haste. We could have taken the time to prepare the ground for reforms in a calmer way, instead of rushing them through in the summer. This season is never good for that. Others have tried to get reforms through during recess, to push them through, and it's never good.
Il y en a d'autres qui ont essayé de faire des réformes pendant la période estivale, ce qu'on appelle le passage en force, et c'est jamais bon. C'est jamais bon.
At the Bastille Day parade, the president played host to Donald Trump, which annoyed the left, and kept things just about civil with an army chief who he then fired, annoying the right. The hard choices of governing have inevitably taken some of the shine off his victory.
On a à la fois des fonctionnaires, des salariés du secteur public.
You have public sector workers who've had their salaries frozen, then retired people who are having their taxes increased, and certain workers, largely on the left, who are against the reform of the labour market. Then on the right, a part of the electorate who didn't like Macron's attitude towards the head of the armed forces, General de Villiers. So it's an amalgamation of grievances that come from different parts of society.
Back in Amiens, we asked 2 founder members of En Marche how they see the coming months for their president.
Ça va être compliqué parce que
It's going to be tough because if Macron is going to be able to keep his campaign promises, he needs to get significant reforms through, and reform in France is difficult.
Les réformes importantes et les réformes en France c'est compliqué.
Strong opposition from Mélenchon and certain unions could be a big obstacle.
We activists need to take on an educational role, to explain to French people what's happening, why certain choices are being made, and of course to counter all the fake news and promote the facts.
If he's to keep the support of the national audience, Macron then will have to rediscover the energy shown in his electoral campaign. But with strikes already called for September and enemies gathering, that won't be easy.